give more returns. Get more security and more interest on your fixed deposits from Sri Lanka's largest finance company, LMDtv Finance.
To curb corruption, one must be courageous to confront and rise up against the corrupt. Sleep well, be guided by ethics and standards for peace of mind. Refresh Sri Lanka for a civic-minded society. LMD, the voice of business.
Hello and welcome to LMDtv. Tonight on the forum, we are zooming in on the telecommunications sector. And with us, we have Vijendran, the chairman of Headstart. It's very nice to have you on the show, Vijendran.
Thank you.
How has the adoption of 5G technology been progressing in the Asia-Pacific region? And what impact is it expected to have on various industries?
Yeah, thanks for that. Let me break that up and talk first about 5G and then later talk about the impact to industry. If you look at 5G, it was hyped up quite a lot before COVID, mainly by the vendors who were pushing and desperate to have growth in their industry, having rolled out the 4G networks in a lot of countries. So they wanted to continue their growth with new technology. 4G was continuing to be rolled out in many countries around the world, and mobile operators had not gone a long way to recovering the cost of developing and rolling out the 4G network before this 5G was introduced. So this was a kind of vendor push rather than a market pull. And trials were done by mobile operators in various countries just to show that they are up there with the technology and doing that. But then COVID struck, and then for the next 2 to 3 years, it was a good excuse to stop the rollout of 5G networks. But in the last 3 years, things have moved on, and Asia Pacific is on track to be the largest 5G market globally, more than even the US and Europe. The standout countries are South Korea, Japan, and China here in the Asia Pacific region. India too started later, but they had one of the fastest rollouts of 5G globally, mainly by Mukesh Ambani's Jio network, which got the license, and they really did a very, very fast rollout of their 5G across all of the country in India. In terms of download speeds, Asia Pacific definitely leads the world. South Korea and Malaysia have achieved speeds of over 500 megabits per second. This compares to France with about 200 megabits per second. And surprisingly, UK, Germany, Spain, a lot of the European countries are recording speeds below 150 megabits per second. So Asia Pac leads the world in terms of download speeds in mobile networks. Malaysia has a very interesting model. The government is building the full 5G network and selling it wholesale to all of the mobile operators. And so you could say it's a shared network, kind of Uber 5G network that is rolled out in Malaysia. So, okay, now let's talk about the impact to industry. It is forecasted that 5G will contribute about 2.2 trillion to the global economy by 2034. The key industries that would be impacted are manufacturing, healthcare, transportation, utilities, retail, financial services, and the public sector, mainly through digital transformation and digitalization of a lot of these services. For example, in manufacturing, it's about robotics, a few people controlling a large production line by robots. So in the healthcare, of course, it's about able to consult remotely, also operate remotely, surgically. And so all of these industries have various use cases that 5G is helping them with. And I think that impact will grow as the 5G networks roll out and more industries want to get into digitization and automation. And with now the introduction more of artificial intelligence, I think this is going to obviously increase, where a lot of the mundane, repetitive jobs are replaced by machines, and the 5G network helps that process.
What are the key initiatives and investments made by telecom companies to enhance network security in the face of evolving threats?
Yeah, I think that's something that all of the network operators have to do, but I can say that they are not doing enough. I think telecom companies, as I mentioned earlier, are struggling with their revenues on 5G and also on 4G. The problem is that 80% of the traffic is by applications that are running on their network, but they don't get any money for those applications. The owner of the application or the developer of that application gets the revenue, not the network. So 80% of that traffic is not paying anything. So therefore, they are struggling in terms of operations, and I think security is suffering because of that. I think a good example is a recent episode in Australia where Optus network was down for more than 6 to 8 hours, and everything stopped, including trains. People could not use cash. People could not have cashless payments. In even small businesses lost money. The hospitals and people couldn't contact emergency numbers if they had a call out for the ambulance or whatever. So, it showed how much we are dependent on these data networks, and so the operators need to take this care, and I think Optus have been called by the Senate, and the government to a full inquiry, and that is the kind of level that you cannot escape not having security in your network. So they do need to invest, and they do need to find ways of securing that network, both having proper redundancy, and obviously there's a cost. And as I said, there's a balance here because they're not earning as much revenue as they used to in the 3G, 2G kind of world from the operators.
Can you provide insights into how telecom providers are leveraging IoT and big data analytics to create innovative services and solutions?
Yeah, so the network operators, as I said, they are squeezed by not having the revenue that they're expecting. So they need to look at their costs. And they have always traditionally used technology to help that industry. So IoT, as you know, mobile operators have many sites in order to transmit the mobile signal across any country or region. And all of these sites, especially the remote ones, have to have power to power them up. And when you have a large network, you have a large group of people, obviously, maintaining that network. So they go in, you have trucks, you have to send people out there to look at the network. So the IoT is helping because all of these stations now have full sensors that let you know when things are going, when you need to have maintenance, so that you don't have truck rolls just to look at the site and see if things are okay. You wait for the sensor to tell you, yes, it's now time to do maintenance, so you go out to the site. So this saves a lot of costs and helps with the maintenance of the site. In terms of analytics, they are using the data from past experiences, faults, to basically predict when the next fault would be in a site. So they know when it's going to come next, so they don't have to wait for the site to go down. They're there before that network goes down and able to fix it. So yes, the mobile providers are definitely using IoT and big data to create these not so much innovative services, but to help themselves in their operation to cut their costs. And obviously, once they've done it for their own networks, then they can use it to do other networks like maybe the electricity, utilities, gas, and other petroleum utilities. So they all are using sensors now to sense things that they don't have to send people out to look and do preventive maintenance.
How are telecom companies in the region addressing the challenges related to customer support and implementing technologies like chatbots and call analytics?
Yes, so telecom companies, like all big companies that have call centers, are using the technology that has evolved, chatbots, to help reduce the number of operators that they need to man these call centers. So, as you know, 10 years ago, there was a big growth in call centers in India, Philippines, and other countries. Now, with these chatbots, you don't need to have so many stations because a lot of the problems that customers have are repetitive. They're the same problem. And so these chatbots are able to give the solution immediately on the chat. And customers also don't have to wait because they've been used to waiting for hours on the line, waiting for an operator to get to them. Here, immediately they can resolve that issue. And again, with analytics and AI, they're able to get better and better at the answers that they're giving these customers. And this is the same in not just telecom, but other industries that have large call centers and large customer bases requiring information. But in not just large companies, even small companies are using chatbots on their website so that they can close a sale if somebody comes in looking for some products or information on their website. So it makes it much more efficient for them. They don't have to look at who has been visiting my website and then can contact them. They can immediately get feedback and solve problems on the website straight away.
It's time to take a short break. When we return, we'll get back to the telecommunications sector.
Display your brand message on digital screens at prime locations. The largest digital advertising network in Sri Lanka. Emerging media.
You're mobile, and so are we.
Gets me going.
Grab the Lite 87 app at the Apple App Store or Google Play now.
87.8 and 87.6 island-wide. Lite 87.
Welcome back to the show. We've been talking with the chairman of Headstart, Vijendran. What specific trends and developments in cloud computing are influencing the industry, and how are companies in the Asia Pacific region adapting to these changes?
Yeah, cloud computing has been growing exponentially. People and most companies now do not have their own servers. They're putting all of their services on cloud, And the trends are that obviously they want to increase security because that's a fear. So a lot of the big companies are now doing hosting in alternate clouds. So you just don't have one host. You have maybe an alternate in case one goes down. Then you always have the service operating from the other one. It's called multi-cloud. The other one is the artificial intelligence, and because that is very, very expensive to develop for each company. So by hosting that kind of knowledge, information, and ability in the cloud, different people can access it almost like a shared service. It becomes much cheaper to offer that kind of cloud service AI on the cloud. And the other one is the trend is that, by putting in low code, services, many companies can almost do their own coding for any new services that they want provide on the cloud without having to go to a developer and starting that from scratch. So these are the kind of trends that, cloud is obviously a big thing. Mobile operators have also realized that this is one way of earning additional revenue because they're providing a lot of these data pipes. So now they are hosting these data centers, and that's the trend that mobile operators are owning up and owning these data centers.
What are the major hurdles and opportunities for value-added services, and how are companies working to increase customer value through such services?
Yeah, I think value-added services is a historical kind of service in the 2G environment where mobile operators were trying to earn additional money other than from calls, because at that time it was mainly calls and SMS and very low data kind of services. So they sold value-added services such as ringtones and other things. They still do. I mean, there's still a large population base of value-added services, but I think now the tendency is on applications and mostly done by independent people who find new ways of getting customers to be more efficient, more productive through their applications. So I think that is a trend now. It's more application rather than value-added services.
Could you elaborate on the strategies that telecom service providers in the Asia Pacific are adopting to integrate AI and machine learning into their operations?
Yeah, I think, as I said before, AI and machine learning is used by operators for their own network maintenance. As I said, they're trying to cut down the cost. When you think about 5G compared to 4G, you need a lot more sites to be able to provide the service, a lot more mobile transmitting sites. So that means that will just increase the cost. They'll increase the manpower, will increase all sorts of things, the cost of maintaining that network. And so by using AI and IoT and machine learning, they have reduced that truck rolls, if you like, what we call truck rolls, going to sites, because they have a much more better understanding of what's happening on the site. One or two people can be monitoring the whole network and know exactly what's happening, so that before even a fault happens, they can send somebody there, get it fixed, and keep the network up and running. So that's how they're using it in their own operations.
What are the unique challenges and opportunities that the Asia Pacific region presents for 5G deployment? And how are service providers collaborating to drive its implementation?
Yeah, the unique challenges, I think every country is a little bit different. I mean, Australia, for example, you have population concentrated along the coast, but you have vast areas where there is rural population, but it's a huge geographic area to cover. You got Hong Kong and Singapore in Asia Pac, which is a very densely populated countries, which makes it easier to roll out the 5G network. Then you got South Korea, which has always been a leader in technology and taken a stand to introduce new 5G services and continue to push the boundaries of download speeds and the applications that they are running on 5G. So I think in terms of collaboration, I think we have not got there yet. But as I said, governments are forcing, in some countries like Malaysia, as I said, they have one network, so it's much easier to collaborate because you're all sharing the network, and roaming and other etc. is much easier to implement. But as we saw with the mobile network evolving from its inception, it does take time, but eventually these collaborations will happen, and people will be able to, because of the cost, people will be able to roam on different, if you have a 5G phone on one operator, you can continue to roam anywhere with another operator's network and have that used seamlessly.
Can you provide an overview of the competitive landscape in the Asia-Pacific telecom market and highlight the strengths and micro verticals of key players in the region?
Yeah, I think every country, the competitive marketplace is very different. And I said all of the mobile operators have the same problem in that they are struggling with revenues from this new technology when they haven't actually recovered all of the investment in the 4G, which was the earlier version of mobile technology. So they all have the same problem. That's a level playing field, if you like, in that sense. But there's also new players coming in. So the mobile operators, as we saw in the Indian market, Jio was Mukesh Ambani's network, came in and rolled out really, really quickly, and that caused the closure of many other mobile operators already existing, or the merger or closure of existing operators. So that changed the mobile landscape in India, certainly changed, and it will continue to change. I think there's a huge push in Asia Pacific to use 5G for fixed broadband, so for the home rather than cable into the home. They're using wireless to get the broadband services into the home. So that's another avenue for some of these mobile operators, but also new players are coming into the market to do that. The interesting thing with 5G is that you can have private networks on 5G. So for example, the port city in Sri Lanka, for example, can have its own 5G network if it wanted to. Petronas in Malaysia can have its own 5G network. These are the sort of nuances of the new technology that also would disrupt mobile operators and the competitive landscape in each of the countries as they go along. But I think the challenge has always been spectrum, having enough spectrum for all of the mobile operators, all of these private networks, everyone to operate. And that'll always be a challenge. And it's almost like a land grab, trying to grab as much spectrum as you can to be able to offer these kind of services.
We are talking to Vijendran Watson, the chairman of Headstart. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
And to our viewers, until next time, take care.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching and stay safe.